I'd like to call this meeting of the school board on July 17th to order. Clerk Sandstead is absent. Member Oswald, will you call the roll, please?
I will. Member Gorham.
Present.
Chair Kirby.
Here.
Member Loeffler Kemp. She's in Boston on the TV.
On all the time.
Member Lofald. Here. I am here. Member Sandstead is supposedly going to be late, but otherwise she'll be excused. Member Trinka.
Here.
Superintendent Gronseth.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Horton.
Here.
Secretary Jackie Dolitz. Here. Secretary Melinda Tebow.
Here.
Student Representative Maggie Carlos.
Here.
And Finn White is excused. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda, and I would like to add an item to the Business Committee consideration, a consideration of a contract with the Alice Institute, so I move that we add this to the agenda.
I second.
Seconded by Member Lofald. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of adding this item to the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Then it passes unanimously by those present. Thank you. Next we have, is there any other agenda items?
Do you want to test Member Loeffler-Kemp's
Loeffler Kemp?
volume?
Member Loeffler Kemp, do you want to say something so we can hear you?
I'm raising my hand,
There we go.
Okay, it's fine.
You're good.
Thank you.
and I said aye. Hey,
Excellent. Next is reading and approving the minutes. The first is the minutes of a special school board meeting of June 14th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve these as written?
so moved?
Moved by Member Loeffler Kemp. A second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving those minutes as written, say aye. 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 Opposed? None opposed. It passes unanimously by those present. Next are minutes of the regular school board meeting of June 19th. Is there a motion to approve these as written?
So moved.
Moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Oswald. Any discussion? Corrections? Seeing none, all in favor of approving those minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously by those present. Thank you. Next is are the minutes of the special school board meeting of June 28th, revolving around the budget. Is there a motion to approve these as written?
So moved?
Moved by Member Loeffler Kemp, second.
Second.
Seconded by Member Oswald. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving these minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then this passes unanimously by all those present. Thank you. Finally, there are the minutes of this special executive closed session of July 2nd. Is there a motion to accept these as written?
So moved.
Moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor of approving these minutes say aye.
Aye.
Member Loeffler Kemp, you were aye?
She said aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed? Then this also passes unanimously by those present. Thank you. Next we have our school and community recognition. Can we meet down in front?
I was going to have to move over.
Members of the board, this month we're recognizing a partnership that provides school-age care and enrichment for children. Joining us this evening are Sarah Cole, President and CEO of Duluth Area Family YMCA, Melissa Fanning, Associate Executive Director of Community Services, Duluth Area Family YMCA, and Co-Program Director of Keyzone, and Jay Ressler, Director of Community Education. Welcome. The Duluth Area Family YMCA and our Duluth Community Education Department work together to provide the Keyzone program. It is an academic and enrichment out-of-school time program offered year-round for students in grades K through 5. During the school year, this high-quality program is provided at our 9 elementary schools. The program continues during the summer at select sites. Keyzone activities complement the school day and create an enriching environment, fostering positive youth development and academic success. The benefits for children are amazing. The program supports learning, development of life skills, regular school attendance, homework help, and mentoring. There are opportunities for year-round fun, adventure through creative arts, field trips, service learning projects, STEM, and health and wellness, and more. Keyzone is an important contributor to student achievement in Duluth. We recognize and honor the partnership between Duluth Area Family YMCA and Duluth Community Education to make this success possible. Thank you for all of your service for Duluth students.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is audience comments and participation, and the first person is Jim Doyle.
Good evening. My name is Jim Doyle, and I'm here representing the Community-Based School Equity Initiative. There's been a lot going on in the district, and there's so much for all of you left to do and to attend to. Still, what gets attended to and what doesn't says something about our priorities. A year and a half ago, our committee first raised the idea of using existing bus capacity to reduce absenteeism by providing a bus to high school students walking up to 2 miles to school. In the nearly 18 months since we first brought this up, we've heard several things. We've learned that about 50% of Denfeld's student body lives within 2 miles of school. This means they are on their own to get to school, whether rain, shine, or the dead of winter. We've also learned that absenteeism at Denfeld is excessive. According to a Duluth News Tribune article published in May of last year, the Minnesota Department of Education put Denfeld's chronic absenteeism rate at 28%. We know that chronic absenteeism is correlated with lower student performance, lower graduation rates, and it negatively impacts the district's bottom line. We don't get paid for kids who are not in school. We've also learned that adding bus stops on existing routes is cost neutral and adds very little time to the route. After a year of resisting the idea, the district recently agreed to study the relationship between walking to school and absenteeism. But still, it seems like nothing has happened. So imagine our surprise when the district announced last month it was adding hub busing to serve the students in the language immersion programs at Lowell. Apparently, the problem is a priority, and we can find the time and the resources not only to study it, but to address it. We are glad the problem faced by the families dropping off or picking up so many students at Lowell will be eased for them. But we think it's past due time that the same sense of urgency and attention be applied to students not getting to school at all. We hope that the commitment to study the high school busing issue can be turned into action, so another winter doesn't yield the same high absenteeism, same low school performance, and same questions as to if part of the solution isn't passing us by again in the form of half-filled buses. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lauren Martell.
Good evening. This dialogue is from the board meeting held on August 20th, 2013. One of the board's DFL endorsed majority members, who would become chair in 5 months, said in a loud, authoritative voice, "We have to make something clear here. Different board members speak and say this is what it is. And others have a different opinion and say this is what it is." Exuding blustering confidence, he proceeded to outline his perception as to what was going on. By opting out, we would take this off the table and lose badly needed funding. What we are doing right now is not accepting this. We are not accepting this. What we're doing is postponing a decision. We're not forcing anything, and I hope that's absolutely clear. What we're doing is we're looking at this source of revenue, and we're postponing it, which means we're not accepting it, we're not rejecting it. I just want to clarify the superintendent had no choice but to jump in and correct this bellicose misstatement of fact, that by postponing this decision, you have until August 23rd to act. So by tabling it, you are accepting these funds. During the discussion, the chair of the business committee kept complaining with comments of this ilk. "Mr. Superintendent, I'm trying to figure out, if we don't have to vote on this, why do we even put it in? It's confusing, I have to say, how it's worded. I want to make sure we're voting the correct. What are we voting?" There were some legislative changes after the 2013 election, but the board did take the action that was required in 2013 to use the local optional allowance. This detail was left out of the superintendent's history lesson. If you want transparency, and I believe some of you do, telling the public half the truth does not make the grade. The meeting from August 2013 is on YouTube. As you can tell from this brief transcript, your DFL predecessors did not turn in a sterling performance. You might consider watching that meeting. I think you need to educate yourselves before you start trying to, quote, educate the public. Along those lines, I just received an information response from the MDE this afternoon, rather lengthy, and I haven't been able to look at it in depth yet. But I do want to share one answer to a question that was asked during the business committee meeting, and that was, how many districts are doing what you are considering doing? Converting voter-approved tax money to a board-approved referendum authority. For fiscal year 19, there are 36 of them out of 331 districts. I think you need to take a closer look at what you're doing. I think you're going down the same path as your predecessors, and I don't believe something so incompetent will fly in this round. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nobody else signed up. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak? Thank you. Then we will move on to the next item. Any communications?
Nope, we did not have any formal communications. Shall I move on to the superintendent report?
You may.
All right. Well, we have been working on plans for the coming year, as you can imagine, and there are a number of things in process, which has already been spoken of tonight, many of which will be discussed tonight. So I did want to say that school is coming up rather quickly. Sorry, Maggie, it's coming up here. We're halfway through July, or 3/4 through July. One of the main topics that we've been discussing over the past couple of weeks anyway is school security and student safety, which is, we've been talking a lot about it through last year and especially last spring and over the summer. And a safety committee has been coming together, working on a plan for new protocols for entering our schools and for updating our lockdown procedures. We would like to thank the Duluth Police Department for being a big part of this work and for assisting us throughout this process. We're working together on a grant application that would support our training and our implementation efforts in many ways, both for our enhanced lockdown, but also for positive behavior intervention supports and some other work that we're doing on climate and our OSS work. And so we're very hopeful that we'll do well with this grant. The Duluth Police Department has actually helped us by providing a grant writer, and so we're hopeful that we can move forward on that. We're also applying for the state grant for capital investment in security, looking at our entryways. That grant does not become, the application process doesn't open until late next month. Those awards aren't made until late September. So we've also been working on some short-term plans for how can we implement some things right away in the fall while we're awaiting a grant approval. You can be watching for more information on our district newsletter, on our back-to-school packets. We'll have information, and when we're back in school, which I said isn't far away, our staff will begin training, and then our students will be practicing lockdowns throughout the year as we implement this new process. And as Dr. Kirby suggested, we'll be discussing a grant with Alice in the business committee. On Thursday this week, there is another committee of the whole meeting regarding the polling results and a possible levy referendum this fall. Unfortunately, our firewall and our internet content filters are having some work done, and we will not be able to live stream that meeting, and Wi-Fi will not be available during that meeting because the internet will be down for that time. There will be additional meetings on the topic, however, with further discussion about it, and so stay tuned. But if you planned on watching it live stream, you're more than welcome to join us in person for that presentation. Families, as Mr. Doyle indicated, who are participating in Masabakang Ojibwe Immersion and Nueva Vision. That was probably more of a French accent, but I have French background, so let's just say New Vision's Spanish immersion program may be interested in our new hub model of transportation. Bus stops will be available at Lower Mac, Piedmont, Congdon, and Homecroft. These are not new routes that we're adding, but they're a slight extension of existing routes, and interested families can contact Lowell Elementary or our transportation department for more information. I know that our students are enjoying summer vacation, but Maggie Carlos from Denfeld is with us, and so why don't we have our student representative report?
So I don't have a lot for you guys, but I have a little bit. So Denfeld received the SOS grant from Essentia Health, and so that's Denfeld and East working together, and it's a peer-to-peer program, and it's helping prevent suicide and really helping with mental health. So I'm personally excited for that. And our dance team and cheer team are going to be performing in front of Mr. D's on August 2nd for the Spirit Valley Days, and then they will also be in the parade later that day. So they've been working really, really hard for that all summer long, like twice a week. There's going to be Hunter Kickoff on August 14th and 15th So there's pictures and like early registration and all that. But yeah, that's about it. Summer's been going really good.
Well, that's
working
good.
every day.
That's good. You know, I know as we are all out in the community and enjoying events and maybe going to some local restaurants and businesses, I can see that our high school students are busy working this summer. I see them all over because they say, "Hey, aren't you Mr. Cronson?" Yeah. So continue having fun. I know that there are groups that are very involved with things throughout the summer, like Spirit Valley Days. I know the Rendezvous is coming up. I know there's some student groups involved there too, and so I know that we're still going at it. So that is all I have to report for July. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving right along, next we have our Education Committee report. Littlefield.
I can't see around Rosie.
So as my team comes to the table, we're going to do the Education Committee report.
It's our first time to the table.
I know. I think this is your first time meeting Maggie Carlos. So Maggie, we have our Director of Special Education, Jason Crane. Next to Jason, Mr. Crane, is our Director of Curriculum, Gail Netland. And next to Miss Netland is our new Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Horton. So, and then I just kind of introduced them to others as well. So welcome our meeting. And I'm just going to go over our main points of our committee meeting. Again, the Education Committee meets on the Tuesday prior to a school board meeting, so it must be the second Tuesday of every month at 4:15 right here in the boardroom. I encourage those of you that want to find out and listen to our presentations in person instead of either live streamed or on YouTube to join us. So we always start with the Assistant Superintendent's report, and so we got introduced to Jeff Horton in a rather cool way. You like cool way? He gave us ice cream or popsicles. I wasn't here, so I ate one while I was watching. So again, we just spent our time last week getting to know Assistant Superintendent Horton and his background and his hobbies and his interests and just a little bit of his direction. I think at that point you had been on board for 3 days, so now we're 8 days, and I'm sure I could have added to this, but welcome. We met Miss Netland and learned a little bit about her role as our Director of Curriculum and where she has journeyed before she came here, and a little bit about her hobbies and her interests, and it seems like Duluth is a natural fit, so we're glad to have you here. And so that was kind of the Assistant Superintendent and the Curriculum Director's report. It was a nice breath of fresh air to meet you and to celebrate July. Next on our agenda, we had informational presentations. And first up, we had a presentation by Ron Lake as our Positive School Climate Coordinator. And so he reported on a number of online complaints of bullying and incidences that were documented as bullying in Infinite Campus. And we just asked that we accept this report by Mr. Lake as informational. And also we then were introduced to our draft of a plan that is the Record of Continuous Improvement and the ISD 709 and Minnesota Department of Human Rights Disproportionate Suspension and Expulsion Plan. And we looked over that. This appears in 2 different places in our business committee tonight, and as it did in your committee meeting last week. And this is the plan. And then in a little while, we also see our resolution or our agreement. Okay. And so there was discussion and understanding in that area, and I'm sure someone might be wanting to discuss that a little further tonight as well. We also got a report from, I think, more Mr. Lake, but it was about our family and student handbook and the revisions and just getting our student handbook. And I looked at it, and as someone who's read student and staff handbooks for a long time, it was really, really detailed and specific and included a lot of additional things that were asked for by our state. Is that something? There was more policy in it than sometimes we've had. So really a good staff and family handbook that I know is going to go out to our families here in the next few weeks. That sure jumpstarts the start of a school year. When you get that packet in the mail that has all the details and the handbook and the calendars, then you know that school's about to start. And so we also heard from that we have an Essentia Health Grant, and that's the one that Maggie highlighted as well, where the principals from Duluth East and Duluth Denfeld, along with Ron Lake, submitted a grant for Sources of Strength, and it's a prevention suicide by increasing and help seeking behaviors and promoting connections between peers and caring adults. And that's recommended as informational as well. Our next grant is from the Duluth Superior Community Foundation and the Will D. H. Mitchell Family Fund in the amount of $16,524 for the Denfeld High School's Service Learning Collaborative for the DASH program. And it's recommended that the Duluth School Board receive this item as informational. We also reviewed an external sponsored trip notification by 2 East teachers that teach German as they went on a trip with students to Germany. And that's also recommended for information. We have 3 action items. Number 1 was the Minnesota Department of Human Rights and Independent School District 709 Duluth Agreement, and we'll look at that. It's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the Minnesota Department of Human Rights and Independent School District 709 Duluth Agreement. We also looked at, we listened to Pam Reese, who needs a approval for a waiver because Head Start's, because they ask for variances and waivers when we have exceptions to some pretty strict Head Start federal grant monies. So waivers are required because Duluth Head Start is using state-funded dollars for in-kind, and state requirements differ from federal requirements. So it's recommended that we accept that. And then we have a resolution. And our resolution is about accepting grant awards. And it's resolution E-7-18-3569. It's an acceptance of grant awards for the Duluth Public Schools, whereas Minnesota Statute 465-03 requires a school district to accept grants by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the grant in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described grant from said organization in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to this organization, and the organization is the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation, the Wild E. H. Mitchell Family Fund to Denfeld High School in the amount of $16,524. I move resolution E-7-18-3569.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Trinka. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of passing resolution E-7-18-3569, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I see Member Lefferts Kemp's aye. So it passes unanimously by all those present. Thank you.
Next, we just looked at the graduates from the high schools and the schools in our community, and we just had to recommend by administration that the official minutes include a certified list of June 2018 graduates as submitted by the respective high schools. And it's also recommended to view this as an informational and or accept it as approved from the principals above.
okay? And then we also have a few diploma requests, and it's last month there were 63 of them, and I didn't read them aloud, so I feel like I've set precedents that we are just going to see that their names are in our agenda. We're going to congratulate them. So we have 11 high school seniors that passed their required credits over the last 6 weeks or so, and we're going to just congratulate them. So congratulations. And the last item on the Education Committee report was the data sharing agreement. We have 3 of them. We have the Duluth Community Collaborative. We have the Men as Peacemakers. We have the YWCA Girl Power. These are 3 organizations that are asking us for a data release waiver because they work with our high school students. And so it's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve those as well. There were no policy revisions to deal with this month. There was just some future items will be some more policy updates. So we look forward to you bringing forth policy updates for us to work through that massive list. I move the Education Committee report.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Member Lofall, seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion? Member Trinka. Go ahead.
I'd like to pull item 1C1 for discussion.
1C1. Anyone else? See anybody else? Go ahead.
Great. So I've appreciated the back and forth that I've had with Mr. Horton, really jumping in on day one with some intense questions in terms of how our bullying is being reported. And I appreciated that you shared with me your intentions to kind of clean up processes, make sure our data is really accurate, make sure that all of the information that we're gathering is being reported and acted on. But I just felt the need to say it out loud as I see some of my friends now not sending their students back to the Duluth Public Schools because they didn't feel like the experiences of the little people in their homes were respected, and they felt bullied and not heard. And so I just really want to challenge you as you come into this new space to really take that bull by the horns and figure out ways to, with Mr. Lake, to ensure that we have really safe school climates for all of our students. So I know it's a big task, but I'm looking forward to hearing those updates as we go through the year.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded to accept the Education Committee report. All in favor of accepting this report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Then that passes unanimously by all present. Thank you. Next is the HR Committee. Member Gorham.
Thank you, Chair. The report for the Human Resources Committee for July 2018. As Member Lofall mentioned, the Human Resources Committee meeting takes place just before the Business Committee meeting on the second Monday, beginning at 4:15. So we are on YouTube on those meetings as well. So I encourage you to watch and attend as you're able. We start off with the staffing report, some highlights from that. We had some certified appointments in the last month. We named a new principal at Homecroft Elementary and new assistant principals at Ordine East, Denfeld, and East High School. So welcome to those individuals. Also noted in the staffing report is that there were several extensions and appointments, and those were mostly related to summer school and also some curriculum work that happens over the summer. Moving on, looking at action items and resolutions. First up, we have a resolution for approval of employment of a school board member. This is an annual occurrence if a board member so happens to be employed by the district. And in reading the resolution, it will sufficiently cover the information the public may want to know about this. So, standard business, I will read the resolution when it pulls up here. So, employment of a school board member by the district. Whereas the school board members below are or will be employed by the Duluth Public Schools during their service as a school board member, And whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.195, board members' right to employment requires that the member receive a majority approval by the school board to be initially employed or to continue in employment at a meeting at which all board members are present. And whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.195, board members' right to employment states that the employment relationship will not exceed $8,000 in a fiscal year, excluding compensation for being a school board member. Be it resolved that the school board authorize the employment of the following school board members as listed, not to exceed $8,000 in a fiscal year. Members Lofald and Member Oswald. I move Resolution HR 7-18-3568.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Trinka. Any discussion?
Me. That's first.
Okay. Member Oswald, you are first.
I guess this might be more of a point of information, but the resolution says that it has to be at a meeting with all board members present, and Member Sandstead is not here. So I guess I want to move that we postpone this till next month.
So you would amend that we postpone definitely this until...
Please.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion on this? Member Trinka.
Because the time frame for, that was going to be my point too, Member Oswald, but because the time frame is July through June, is there a potential that this could impact work that is in the works for
July?
Are either of you scheduled?
between now and the middle of August? No? Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we have Mr. Swirsky, sorry. Mr. Swirsky?
I think they're reversed.
Oh.
We got the one next to it. There we go.
All right, try that one.
You had mentioned that Member Sandstead may be joining you later. I'm wondering, in addition to maybe putting this off to next month, if we could come back to this under the other items and maybe take a vote on it at that time if she joins us in between that time.
I can add that to my motion.
I would be tabling it till the end of the meeting. Member Oswald.
I will add that to my motion if Member Gorham so would approve that second, as in I move to postpone it to next month unless Member Sandstead shows up before the end of the meeting. Then we can approach it in other. And do you need me to write that all down, Jackie? Okay, good.
Then we will have to vote on it at the end of the meeting if she shows up. This is a bit, well, why don't we just table it until the end of the meeting?
Okay.
So would you amend your motion to table the...
I'll amend my motion to table
table
till
this-
the end of the meeting, and then we'll revisit it.
Okay, is there a second? And Member Gorham, you?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion on this? Member Leffler-Kemp, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, all right. All in favor of Member Oswald's motion to table this resolution until the end of the meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Then we shall do that. It passes unanimously. All right.
Thank you, Chair. The second action item is related to the hourly wage rates for hourly employees. So approval of this action item would impact, by my count, 11 positions, or the positions highlighted in red on the form in the agenda packet. These positions would be impacted with a 1% raise, totaling just under $5,000 per year. This action was definitely postponed last month to this month to allow for a budget to be in place prior to voting. Moving on to informational items, we received our annual report to the board, which is a summary of employee harassment complaints for the 2017-18 school year. There were a total of 4 in 2017-18, and all have been resolved. It is district practice not to list a breakdown of the complaints when there are fewer than 10 individual complaints in order to prevent potential disclosure of the identities of the involved parties. Informational item B, there's been ongoing conversation and work to bring the paraprofessional pro assessment test to a location closer to Duluth, and so there's been quite a bit of work done to identify and see if the program vendor for the test, if their software will work with our computers. And an initial test of that last Thursday found that they were not syncing up right away right now. The software is older, so it's difficult for our computers to work with here, but I know that IT is looking into it and seeing if there could be some solutions. So thank you, Ms. Kinnear, for the update on that, and hopefully we can find positive outcome there, but great effort so far, and I know many people appreciate the effort. So future items, the superintendent review. Briefly, I think we're hoping to have specific metrics for the superintendent performance review available in August. So that concludes my report. I move the HR committee report for July 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Trinka. Any discussion? Superintendent.
A few things. One, summer is a time when we do quite a bit of hiring as we're filling positions where people have retired or moved on, and we do have a few administrative positions on the list this year, and I just wanted to announce that Mr. Tom Cockett will be principal at Homecroft Elementary. And then we had 3 positions that were for assistant principal positions. And we want to welcome Tom Tuskin to Denfeld as the assistant principal, Kyle Rock to East as an assistant principal, and Mike Emerson to Ordine East as assistant principal. Those were all positions. Oh, and Mr. Jim Erickson to principal as Laura MacArthur. I knew I'd missed one in there. Welcome, and we are looking forward to working with you in those new roles. Just want to point out 4 of them were internal promotions that happened, and 1 was from the outside, and Mr. Cockett came to us from Barnum.
Anybody else? I think that as I look at this, if we approve this, we are approving the hourly pay rate raise. I've said before, I thank Member Oswald for all of her work and all. And in principle, I agree with this. However, I cannot support it, given we don't have a detailed budget, and because it has all of the other problems that have been discussed in previous meetings. So I will support the Human Relations report, but I must say right now I'm not in favor of this. Is there any other? Member Lofeld.
Do you have to pull that
That's what I was.
to have a separate vote?
No, I'm not having a separate vote. I'm just telling.
Okay.
Member Lofeld.
Well, I am going to pull 2B from the HR committee to have further discussion.
Okay.
And that is on the hourly wage.
Okay, go ahead.
And I also want to vote on this because I've delayed the vote probably most of the months just by my questions. And so, because I honestly, much like Chair Kirby just said, I want in practice to give raises to those that we sometimes don't include in a bargaining unit. I just have struggled to see the inconsistencies. In my mind, and it's not, evidence-based necessarily, but I can see, now I have that form in front of me, but I can see a food service worker like our satellite manager standing next to another worker and we've given a 10-cent raise to one of them and not the other, even though they're both at a 9.65 hourly wage. And the inconsistency of who we're giving it to. So my direction to us, I know this was a carryover resolution from our past board. I just want to scrap the whole thing and start again. Start with a $10 raise or just something that will add to our other budget. I don't know where that will go. I'm just not going to vote on this one. So I'm going to pull it to have a vote, and I would vote no.
So you'd like a separate vote on?
I would.
2B, okay. Pardon? 2B or not to be? 2B. Anybody else?
I'm still on.
Still on. Member Leffler-Kemp, he's not. All right. Seeing no other discussion, we will have a separate vote, and we'll ask to call the roll on item 2B. Let me get my... to accept the proposed update of hourly substitute pay rate update, I guess. Maybe you could ask for a roll call vote, Member Oswald.
On 2B?
On 2B, correct.
Okay, we're voting on the approval of the hourly wage rates for hourly employees.
So a yes vote will mean that we accept this, and a no vote will mean that we do not. Okay.
Member Gorham, how do you vote?
Aye.
I gotta get the other sheet. Chair Kirby?
No.
Rosie Leffler-Kemp, Member Leffler-Kemp?
No.
Member Lofeld?
No.
I will vote yes. Member Sandstead is not here. And Member Trinka?
Yes.
Yes, we have a 3-3 tie.
So that is not a majority, so it fails. All right, thank you, everybody. That's been a long, hard battle, and I thank Member Oswald for all of her work. So now we will vote on the HR report, the rest of it. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the HR report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then that passes unanimously with all present. Thank you. Next, we go to the Business Committee report. Member Trinka.
Thank you.
I did.
I can come sit down with you, Mr. Spooner, and we can tag team a report here, because I know you've got a lot on the docket here. Once again, we had a really robust business committee meeting, although at 186 pages, this might be our thinnest board packet in my short tenure as the chair of the business committee. As you can imagine, as folks have talked about before, because we don't have a budget, the financial report discussions were pretty thin. We do have it on good authority that ARC, who we're working with on the budget, has finalized student projection numbers for the next year. And because our term for that contract was 30 days, we should be seeing numbers soon. Do you have any additional updates that you'd like to add to that, Superintendent?
Just that many of our staff have continued to work with ARC as they go through budgets, and I'm scheduled for another couple of meetings, and hopefully by the end of next week we should be wrapping things up.
Thank you. Following that update and those discussions, we talked about the fundraisers for June, and I have to give a shout out to our friends at Laura MacArthur for raising over $2,000 by selling beef sticks. Those are some hustlers, so we appreciate that young entrepreneurship. We then moved on to discussing updates to policies and started with Policy 103 on the complaints for students, employees, parents, and other persons. And had some good discussion around language during that conversation. Wanting to ensure that the language that we use in our policies is really inclusive to all types of community members who are interacting with the district. So I appreciated that good conversation. Following that, we had a detailed conversation around the Duluth Public Schools website accessibility policy to ensure that we're in compliance with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I'm looking forward to some updates on that policy, and both of these will remove additional policies. We had the great opportunity to discuss insurance proposals and premium summaries and comparisons. And given how volatile the insurance markets can be, I was not only grateful for the attendance of the gentleman who came to present these to us, but also that we're not looking at exorbitant increases in premiums, even though we're adding some additional coverage. So I was grateful to see that. Let's see. We then had a discussion about the partnership between ISD 709 and the Duluth Area Family YMCA, specific to the Key Zone group. And so it was fun to be able to acknowledge the really hardworking Key Zone staff tonight at our meeting. I think there's probably not a single one of us sitting up here who hasn't benefited from the Key Zone program. So I certainly want to thank the Duluth Area Family YMCA for their really robust partnership with the district in supporting our students and families. We discussed the contract for Frontline Education, which is the evaluation software that's used by the district for teacher evaluations. And then we discussed our relationship with the University of Minnesota Duluth for the college and the schools, and got an updated list of classes that we're looking at for the CITS classes for the upcoming year. Mr. Spooner then walked us through a change order for general construction change orders around work that is happening out at in relation to the renovations happening at Rockridge, and I am very pleased that we're still under budget. And again, I think the new procurement process has been a benefit for the district. I'm not sure if you have anything you want to add. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. Great. And so then we'll move into resolutions. So I'm going to start with the resolutions, the acceptance of donations to the Duluth Public Schools. Whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the donations in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to these various individuals and organizations. So I move Resolution B-7-18-3507.
Thank you. Is there a second? Who's a member Lowfall?
I think that was Member Loeffler.
Member Loeffler-Kemp seconded that. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
It's been pointed out to me that I said Resolution -3507, and so I want to correct that it's 3570.
B-7-18-3570.
Yes.
All right. All in favor of this resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Then it passes unanimously for those present. Thank you.
Next, we discussed a resolution changing some of the authorized bank account signers. So resolved by the School Board of Independent School, District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that it hereby authorizes the following to be authorized bank signers. So I move Resolution B-7-18-3571.
Second, made by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Lowfald, and this also removes some of the previous authorized signers. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of passing Resolution B 718-3571, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Then this passes unanimously by those present. Thank you.
The next resolution is authorized bank account signers for the Bridge program. The Bridge program requested a student activity account at Harbor Point for the purpose of benefiting Bridge students in learning cash handling principles. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that it hereby authorizes the following individuals to be authorized bank account signers. I move Resolution B-7-18-3572.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor of Resolution B 718-3572, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Then this passes unanimously by all present. Thank you.
The next resolution, we had very robust discussion along. And could I get a point of information, Chair? Do I need to read the resolution before I make a motion to postpone it definitely?
You could for information, if nothing else.
Great. So the resolution is converting voter-approved referendum authority to a board-approved referendum authority. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, State of Minnesota as follows. Current authority. The district has a current voter-approved referendum authority that is estimated to be $371.78 per adjusted pupil unit for the fiscal year 2019 after the local option revenue subtraction and after preliminary adjustment by the Minnesota Department of Education in compliance with Minnesota statutes sections 126C.17 as amended. 2. Conversion of referendum authority. Pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 126C.17, subdivision 9A, the board hereby determines to convert $300 per adjusted pupil unit of its voter-approved referendum authority, which expires after taxes payable in 2018, to a board-approved referendum authority of approximately $300 per adjusted pupil unit. This authority shall be further adjusted based on final pupil unit data and its intention of the board to convert the maximum authority for which it is eligible not to exceed $300 per adjusted pupil unit. This board-approved referendum authority, as adjusted, shall be applicable for 5 years, beginning with taxes payable in 2019. The board may subsequently reauthorize the board-approved referendum authority in increments of up to 5 years. Number 3, the clerk is authorized and directed to submit a copy of the adopted resolution to the Minnesota Department of Education as soon as reasonably practical after its adoption, but in no event later than September 30th, 2018. So I'm going to move that we postpone this definitely until we have a stronger plan in place.
Second.
Postpone definitely. When's the definite time?
Until next month.
So you postpone Resolution B 718-3573 definitely until the board meeting of August, which
Correct.
I think is the 17th. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Seconded by Member Gorham. Is there any discussion? Member Lofold.
I'd really like to encourage us to pass this tonight by delaying it a month. I feel we kind of harness our community that is working on going forward with the levy that we are going to put for that. This resolution is currently in place right now. We're just trying to extend it's up in 5 years. The 5 years are up and we're extending it. So I think the voters approved this somewhat 5 years ago. This was approved at one point, and so we're extending it. It's not anything extra or new in our ability to use referendum levy money. It's just done in 5 years. I'm okay with delaying it a month. I am, but I really would like to see us move forward so that our community people that are working on a levy have, kind of some foundation as to what already is in place for us. And I just believe that it's, I don't know if the reason for a delay is for more levy information, or are we concerned about the board approval versus a voter approval technique? Does that make us nervous? I would like to know just if we're delaying it, what really are we hoping we're going to find out in a month that we don't already know now?
Thank you. Member Oswald.
I believe that Superintendent Gronseth is the one that requested we postpone it at the committee meeting, and so maybe Superintendent Gronseth can review why you requested that action.
It was actually, so last month it was definitely postponed to this month, and at the agenda setting session with Chair Kirby and Clerk Sandstead, they wanted to postpone this until August, but it had been definitely postponed to this month, so it needed to be on the agenda. And so I said, you need to have it on the agenda, and if you want to postpone it, then you need to postpone it at the meeting.
Any other discussion? Member Trinka.
I'll respond to you, Member Lowfold. I think that part of the reason that I am going to support postponing this is because we've requested presentations to be done at a committee meeting or at a board meeting around this that we haven't had the chance to have that happen for a variety of reasons. And I think that we need to begin to not only continue to educate ourselves, but also educate the public around what this specifically means, especially as we move into a potential levy season. It's, as I've said at all of our board meetings, it's a very complicated matrix of funding sources. And I think there were enough questions that were asked at the business committee meeting as well about what we could levy and the categories in which we could levy it. That conversation came up specifically with Mr. Spooner around how we support some of the investments in curriculum and teachers versus buildings. And so wanting to understand how those funding matrices work in a better way before we make that decision. I also do struggle with the board approved versus the taxpayer approved, because I think that I'm not going to spend time bringing up the past, but that's been a sore spot of our community, and I want to help us and support our board in being more transparent and more open with the public.
Member Lowfold.
So I appreciate that, so thank you. And I think it's an interesting dilemma that you just bring up. So we know that we've had trouble sometimes going forward when we don't ask our community for a vote. And so I see it as but yet if we turn this into a board approval, it doesn't happen all the time. It's not like we turn it into a board approval and then it's mandated that way the rest of the time. So that's kind of an interesting point. But to that, so it's kind of, if you think about this, it's like we have this ability to do it, but if we do it and the community is upset by it, we have somewhat, deadened that. So it's, or if we went ahead and did this, would the community know that we're doing this with the best information and direction and understanding of complicated school issues that we take the time to understand, but not always others? So if we approve this, the community can trust us that we know what we're doing. Or the other is that we don't approve this and we do our levy knowing that that we trust our community. So do you see what I'm explaining? It's like if we go ahead and do this, we're hoping the community will trust us. But if we let go of it and say, okay, we're not going to guarantee us that extra $300, even though we're going to trust that you're going to give it to us. That's an interesting trust triangle. Is that it? Do you get that? Because I think that's a pretty aha type of thinking.
Superintendent?
I find myself in an interesting situation because it's on the agenda, yet I was asked to hold off on a presentation because it was going to be on the next agenda. So had I known that it would be discussed this month, you certainly would have had a presentation on this item, but it was because of the agenda setting, it was decided that it would be on the August, so I didn't have a presentation for this month. So it's an interesting dilemma where we're discussing, but it was not intended to be discussed this month. I would have been appreciative of the opportunity to present that. I'd be happy to present it in the future. However, we do have, like I mentioned earlier, a committee meeting later this week regarding polling on a referendum, and a special board meeting planned for the 26th for conversations regarding referendum language to go forward with which would be followed by a great deal of community information and discussion and opportunities for people to discuss that. The language for that question needs to be finalized, and to the county, according to the county, August 14th, according to the state, August 24th. So there's a little bit of discrepancy about when that question needs to be done. The county maintains that they would like it by the 14th. So our legal team and our financial advisors need to have a little bit of lead time to create that language. That is what we are hoping to bring to you on the 26th. That language is dependent on partially on this decision, and so in some ways the decision will have been made regarding the referendum based on this, and I think that's okay. What we're telling voters then is we need you to move forward, and that will certainly be the conversation over the next where are we? August, September, October, November, 4 or 5 months. And so we will make sure that everyone has all of the information they need, and be hopeful that they will know our situation and our needs and what this money will continue to be used for, just like we've used the current levy dollars.
I think the next board meeting is August 21st.
Yes.
I misspoke before. All right, Member Gorham.
I think we have for me to comfortably vote on this, there's two things. I'm not going to vote on it today, obviously. We're postponing it, but I want to make this very clear. One is school board members, we're advocates for public school, for public education. And I know that we need this money. I know we do. Part of being an advocate for public schools is maintaining and fostering a trusting relationship with your community. And if we're not being transparent and open and providing information to them about what we're intending to do or what we're thinking about or what we're by law allowed to do and why, I think we're failing their trust. I feel I was elected, and I want to build on that trust, keep it growing, and not lose it. So I would encourage any method possible to reach out to the community, provide information, give them an opportunity to at least respond. And I'm sure there will be some people on board and some people against it regardless, but at least we make the effort to be transparent, I think, is important.
Member Oswald.
Thank you. The conundrum Superintendent Gronseth explains could be totally avoided if we had open agenda setting sessions. I would really hope that we can think about having a discussion around that in the future. As far as the levy, my position hasn't changed. I still want to see our budget first to say, we have to lose something in our budget to if you choose not to approve our money. And right now, we're strapped pretty tight. And so I want to have the numbers to prove that we need it. And so I will vote to postpone it.
Member Lowfold.
Yeah, just a quick comment back to is I'm hoping then if Member Gorham really is key on presenting to our community. I took some time, and I think others of you did too, to sit with other, I sat with Superintendent Gronseth and reached out to other school board members from other communities about this issue. And Superintendent Gronseth has a really good presentation that explains this resolution in front of us. So I'm hoping that maybe we could ask him to present it either this Thursday, although 3 days is not enough time, the 26th. If Member Gorham is really hoping we can reach out to the community and try to explain this resolution so that they trust what we're doing, then I'm hoping we have time to do that. I know that's my choice as well. That's always my my goal. And so I would do we want to go out and share with our neighbors and with our community people what we understand on this? Is that our role or no? But I agree that we want to talk to our community, and that's part of our role as well, to talk to our constituents and our community members and share with them the information that Superintendent Gronseth presents so that they understand this small little board asking for the $300 to stay so that when the levy comes, we still can maintain $745 of the $795 or $741 of the $795, something like that, instead of going all the way down to the $425. So that's really what this resolution is about if we go to the community in November and the referendum is defeated by our community, we would keep the $741. If we don't vote this resolution, we only can keep $435. So it's a trust, sort of.
These numbers were all kind of mixed up.
Okay, they were mixed up. I shouldn't have gone there, but Mr. Superintendent Gronseth needs to explain this too.
Member Leffler-Kemp.
Thank you. Good discussion, and we had a very good discussion on this at the committee meeting as well. I appreciate the comments that all of you have made, especially support the comments that Member Lowfold has made. One of the things I suggested in the committee meeting was that we have the presentation at the July 26th scheduled meeting. I know, as I said in the committee meeting, those of us who have worked on referendums in the past know the importance of committing to this to help support the Citizens Referendum Committee. And so the sooner, I would hate to wait till our August meeting on the 21st to pass this. So I would be voting to support this tonight, but if we need to hold back on it, I would urge us to do it at our July 26th scheduled meeting that we already have scheduled.
Thank you. Any other? Member Trinka.
Well, can I amend my my previous amendment then to include that feedback that instead of postponing it definitely until our August board meeting, to postpone it until next Thursday's meeting? Can we do that?
So you'd like to
July 26th.
add it to the, postpone it and add it to the agenda on July 26th?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who seconded it. Josh, is that Josh? Superintendent.
Hello. I'll just kind of put it out there that I'm kind of hearing different things from different people, and I'm not quite sure which direction. I've heard that we want a robust community conversation. I've heard we want next week, next month, right now. We want to change the agenda setting process. So I just, whichever we choose, I'd like it to be clear. Right now, I'm not sure where we are because I've heard kind of 3 different processes that are being recommended. And whatever we do, just help me to be clear about my task ahead of me, what the expectations are, and what the timing is.
Member Lofold.
The robust conversation is maybe trying to get the community to come to the July 26th meeting and listen to Superintendent Gronseth explain the reasons why this is a good resolution to move forward with. And if they come to listen, then we know that there's interest in it. We can put it out there in our website, and it's already a scheduled board meeting, so those that tend to come. I think there's public comment at that meeting on July 26th. So they would have a chance to share their comments, and maybe, I know this is not a part of how we do things typically, but it might be, maybe you could change the public comment till after the presentation so that people who are attending have a chance to come up to the mic and share their 3 minutes. I know it's done in other board places where instead of the comments being in the beginning of the meeting, they can be at the end of the meeting so that people who are here in attendance have a chance to listen and then think through some things and give us some feedback. As much I want my community to come and share their ideas. I've attended a lot of Think Kids meetings over the years. They haven't always been called Think Kids. And I'm appreciative of the community that does come to give us feedback. But the large majority of our community gets their information from either our website, our Facebook pages, or the newspaper. So I would like to put it out on the agenda for the 26th, and those that can attend and go on the line would be welcome to give us.
Is she changing Member Trinka's resolution?
Oh, Member Trinka amended hers to say it was the 26th. Member Trinka.
I appreciate that you're getting 3 different marching orders here. Although we've talked about this at the last 2 business committee meetings that we wanted to have a presentation on this. And so if it doesn't get on the agenda for the board meeting, I don't have any control over that. But I'll just commit to staying more on top of it with the committee meetings. I know I've seen it, but there were some new facets that were brought up even last week, like about the different categories by which we need to do this so that we can put funds where our district needs it the most. So I would support the approach that Member Lofold put forward.
Member Gorham.
I think keeping it simple and going off of the 26th and Member Lofold's comments, let's just couple that with something like a press release so that this information is getting out to the media, maybe ahead of that meeting so people have the opportunity to know that it's going on and can attend, and then we generate some news media to raise awareness. I think that would be another strategy to get the word out more.
Member Oswald.
As far as moving comment, the schedule of comments is based in policy. So we would have to, remove the policy for the meeting or vote on that. We'd have to vote on the policy to not use that policy for that meeting at that point. So just like, because comments are listed in the policy. So.
All right. Well, we have a motion before us to definitely postpone Resolution B 7/18/3573 to the July 26th meeting, and that we would like a presentation by the superintendent at that time. Moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Gorham. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then we'll call for a vote. All in favor of Member Trinka's a motion to definitely postpone this, say aye. Aye. Opposed? I can't see member left. She says aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So that passes unanimously by all present. Thank you. You may continue. Member Trinka.
Great. Next is Resolution B-7-18-3574, approving 10-year capital facilities plan, FY 2019 update. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, State of Minnesota, that the 10-year capital facilities plan, FY 19 update is approved. So I move Resolution B-7-18-3574.
Seconded, made by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Lofald. Any discussion?
I just, I want to thank, is it okay since I'm already on? Mr. Spooner for your really hard work on this and for walking us through this last week. It's a huge job, but I think it's important that people know that it can be amended as we go along. So Mr. Spooner is always really good about giving us regular updates as to what's happening in the buildings across our district and is really good about moving and shifting priorities. We do talk about this quite frequently at business committee meetings, so if facilities planning really gets you excited, please feel free to join us at the business committee meetings. We recognize that there are a lot of competing interests across the district with very little in our coffers, and so I appreciate the work that Mr. Spooner's understaffed team is doing to work to create really great environments for our students to learn.
Thank you.
Jill did.
Member
Lofald did.
All right. Any further discussion? Then all in favor of Resolution B-7-18-3574, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None opposed, so it passes unanimously by those present. Thank you.
So we have a placeholder in here around the sale of property. The district can now say that we are no longer the owners of the former Nettleton Elementary School. So thanks to the team for your work on that. We discussed a number of expenditure contracts, extension or renewal contracts, no-cost contracts, revenue contracts, and then received our monthly facilities management and capital project status report. And last but not least, a list of our annual grants and donations summary, and I appreciated the visual that was put together by the district staff on showing us how our grants and donations, what the variances have been over the course of the last few years. Pardon? Oh yeah, that's right. And then the last piece that we need to discuss, we added to our list before. No.
The Alice training.
Wouldn't that be accepted with the contracts? Yeah. So I'll just mention that the superintendent and the team have been working with the team at the Alice Training Institute, whose business is to help teach district staff, including teachers and substitutes, around tactics to keep our schools safe, and also to do some in-depth intruder response training for a certain number of staff. So it's a combination of in-person training for a certain subset of the district, and then also e-learning support and maintenance. And I did a few of the modules over the course of the last 24 hours, and they're pretty good. So that's the last contract to discuss.
Superintendent, do you want to speak to that?
I think I was just going to note that this would be considered item 4A6 when you added it to the agenda. Otherwise, it's a 3-year contract, involves an annual fee for licenses for e-learning and a 2-day intense training for district leaders, the principal group, teacher leaders, district folks, for up to 50 people. And the total contract is just under $72,000 over the 3 years.
Thank you. So with that, I move the Business Committee report.
So we need a motion to authorize the superintendent then to enter into a contract with Alice Institute for an amount.
So moved.
For an amount not to exceed, what, $75,000?
Over 3 years.
Right, over 3 years, to provide these services and training programs as outlined in there was a master agreement that we got in there.
So moved.
Moved by Member Leffler Kemp, seconded by Member Oswald. Any further discussion on this? Member Lofald?
I just want to thank the leadership for working with different resources and looking at the ALICE program. I've heard great things about it, and I'm just excited to give our staff and students and our district good stuff. Did we mention that you're going to be doing this with substitutes as well?
I did.
We did get that email. Oh, you did. Okay. So that's just a really key piece as well, and really sees that we are addressing our whole district. I don't know what that's going to look like being a sub in the district. I know about that, but I'm trusting that our leadership, you know what you're doing. So subs will also get the ALICE training. I've watched it a little bit of the online. So is that kind of our direction with subs, is giving them permission and a keyword to watch the 45-minute presentation, which gives them, I think, enough to be competent and good.
Thank you. I think two other things. The Duluth Police Department has also encouraged this, and it can start right away, the middle of August. So, all right. Any other discussion? So all in favor of the motion that was made by Member Leffler Kemp and seconded by Member Oswald, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes unanimously by those present. And then you moved the remainder of the Business Committee report. Was there a second to that?
Second.
Seconded by Member Lofald, or Member Gorham, I'm sorry.
Wait, where are we? Have you looked at vote on the whole thing?
Yeah.
Have you discussed Homecraft?
Homecraft isn't on the report there.
You can pull it.
We can pull it if you want.
I believe I want to pull item 6F.
You're on.
I wanted to note that after the on 6F, it says including Homecraft Playground update. Just wanted to note that we didn't, there was conversation about that, but there wasn't any action to move forward because there wasn't, we don't have a detailed plan to discuss or give recommendations on. So I just wanted to make sure that we made the note that we didn't have an action to take on this item. And I don't know if Mr. Spooner, you had any more to add on that.
Not really. I looked in my history and I had requested information, as you had suggested, from the Homecraft parent group on July 5th or July 7th. And they did not provide me anything and just indicated they were waiting to meet with the superintendent Gronseth. And I have not had any information, so I have nothing that I can review or recommend at this point.
Thank you. Member Lofald.
Can I pull 4A4? The district's UMD CITS contract, just for comment.
You may. Member Trinka, did you have something?
And I'd like to pull item 3C.
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 3C and 4A4. Okay, why don't you, your first 3C, Member Trinka?
Nope. I just went away from it. I recognize that this is our first reading, but I want to request that we have follow-up ahead of our next meeting to ensure that all of the language and all of the policies that we have in place here are in fact entirely ADA compliant. We had some good conversations at the committee about how people can, if you have to submit a complaint via the website feedback form, wanting to ensure legally and through statute that that is ADA compliant, because I don't want to make our websites any more difficult, any communication any more difficult for people with disabilities. So I would just like to say that I would like us to get comprehensive follow-up on that ahead of the next business committee meeting, please.
Okay. Do you want to say something?
We've done some research on that, and we will have that for you for the second reading.
All right. Member Lofald.
Can you just help me, because I wasn't at the business meeting and I did listen, and you had great conversation. So is this policy about complaints to the actual website, not like just they have a complaint about something in our district? Is this policy about when there is a complaint about the website and its accessibility, about the website, not our community members registering a complaint about anything, about this meeting or about school issues? It's a policy that concerns the actual website?
Yeah, it's the website accessibility, concerns, complaints, and grievances. So it's about helping people, making sure that our website is fully ADA compliant and accessible, and then also if they need to make website, if they have concerns or complaints, that they can do so on the website.
Mr. Spooner, did you have anything to say? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify my last statement on the Homecroft field. I had the email correspondence, and they were not waiting for the superintendent. They had indicated to me that they were going to contact the superintendent, so I didn't want it in the minutes that they were waiting for somebody to contact them. They were indicated to me that they would be contacting the superintendent. I just wanted to clarify that point because I don't think I made it clear.
Thank you. All right, any further? I see a... Member Lofald.
So I just want to highlight the Duluth school districts and the UMD CITS statistics. I thought the statistics were interesting. I just want to applaud our district for offering this enrichment to our high school students, and I'm glad there's so many take advantage of it. One of the things I never understood in my 30-some years in the district is that our district is paying our campuses for this benefit. I didn't realize that. I just thought that if a student was taking CITS, that was offered in our catalog and they could take it. I didn't realize the fees that were attached. And so I like my community to know that that's a great benefit and a great opportunity, and I really enjoy it, and I've taught it and I've seen it in action, but I didn't know that we paid for it out of so sometimes when I want our students to have credit for college, but I think the misconception is that it's free, and it is free to them, and I'm glad our budget provides for it.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, then we are ready to vote on the Business Committee report. All in favor of accepting this report with all of its discussion amendments, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes unanimously with those present. And now we have our item that we tabled till the end of the meeting concerning, I forget which,
I have it up. We have special resolutions.
oh, we have special resolutions, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I have to get back to special resolutions, yes. Does someone have it up? Member Oswald, can you read that, please?
I don't have it.
Oh, Member Trinka.
Great. So, Resolution SP-7-18-3575, resolution authorizing school board members' attendance at the MSBA Summer Seminar. Resolved that Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, pay costs incurred as directed by district policy for school board members to attend the MSBA Summer Seminar held in 2018. So I move Resolution SP-7-18-3575.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Gorham. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of passing Resolution SP 7-18-3575, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously by those present. Now we can get to the item we tabled, and we still do not have all members present. So, go ahead.
Yeah, speak, please.
You may speak, yes.
I got an update from Member Sandstead that she regrets that she will not be able to make it to the meeting.
Thank you. So I suggest that we postpone this. Oh, Rose, I'm sorry, Member Leffler Kemp.
Are we at the just comment section?
We tabled a motion to, I forget which, to approve members Oswald and Lofall to work for the district until all board members were present, but all board members will not be present.
Okay.
I think she just wanted to make a comment.
Did you have another?
No, I was just trying to see where we're at on the agenda because I had trouble hearing.
All right. I'm sorry. Well, I would suggest that we postpone it definitely until August. It doesn't seem to make any difference. So we're going to.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So made by myself and seconded by Member Oswald to postpone definitely resolution.
Or 7-18-3568.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? Member Lofall?
Could I ask Mr. Swirsky, how sure are we that the statute is really like every school board member has to be present? That seems rather archaic. I mean, it is there, but has it ever changed or? Okay. And so if we're going to, is there a deadline as to exactly when we have to make sure this is accepted?
Well, I think your other piece. I think your other piece where you will not start your employment until after that date would be sufficient. So I think you might have an issue if you were starting your employment before that date. So
can I just make a plea that, at some point, either August or September, if we know we're going to be gone, we can either do what Member Loeffler Kemp did and be present here. Can you vote via a phone? No, it has to be this?
your meeting on the 25th or the 26th, is that an official school board meeting?
21st of...
Oh, I'm sorry, but I heard earlier that there was going to be a meeting in July here.
July 26th. July 26th.
July 26th, but she won't be here.
Oh, okay.
It shouldn't make any difference, really. Okay. So the motion is to postpone definitely this resolution until August 21st. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Then that passes. Thank you. Passed unanimously. I think. Are there any other comments or questions? Member Oswald? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Gorham to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Superintendent Grunton,
Thank you.
12.